All right, welcome to the February Talking Tech recap. We're here with Matt Brandenberger and Valerie Biggs,
Hello,
and
hello.
oh, we're going to talk a little technology. I think we're going to start off with Matt's going to go through and show a little summary of what he showed on the north side of town on, I guess it was last Wednesday. So Matt, when you're ready, go right ahead.
All right. Yeah, I'll just kind of quickly go through. Um, Shared this video that's worth checking out at some point. You can see, first of all, if you want to access this, the link is the bit.ly/ February 11th, capital T, capital T. There's a good video here, the blockbuster remake of showing how much technology has changed here in the last 10, 15 years, and I got a good kick out of this video. We saw this at a tech conference a couple weeks ago. Won't play the video now, but worth checking out. Talked a lot about collaboration, as always, just making sure that we are using today's Meet or other sites in order to do kind of the background, back channel conversations. We went through just the creations is our focus for quarter 3 here in the elementary schools. We went through these slides very quickly. Again, you can go through them if you're in the presentation, showing different student examples, teacher examples, and then kind of even shows the basics of getting it set up for your classroom. And then the resources that we use, tutorials and whatnot for creations. At the Talking Tech, we did not spend very much time on creations, but just kind of wanted to review that for anybody who needed to kind of get started with creations. But our focus really was on Nearpod, and we have again some good slides here that we kind of walked through what Nearpod is. This is a screenshot from the app. There's 5 different kind of places you can go within the app: your library, explore other people's Nearpods, join another Nearpod, and then create or find reports after you have done one. So I guess first of all, if you don't know what Nearpod is, it's a way to basically insert a PowerPoint image, text, or video into an entire lesson. So if you think of it basically as being able to create like a PowerPoint type presentation and then share it out to your students so that they can follow along. And the nice thing about it is that you're able to control the pace of the lesson. You keep the students on task that way, and you don't have them getting lost on which slide you're at. You're really kind of in control, and what you're sharing out is what they see. There's over 2,000 ready-made Nearpods. Some of them are free, some of them are paid, but really a very powerful app. We tried it out at the Talking Tech, and we won't take the time to do that during this session here, but I would just highly encourage anybody, if they have not checked out Nearpod yet, to play around with it. It's very user-friendly, pretty simple to set up. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can do, from embedding like a little multiple choice quiz to a survey, to having students even annotate on top of a picture or text as they go, and then you can see what they're doing in real time. So the place to go to sign up for Nearpod is nearpod.com. You'll need to have an account, but you can use your Google account or Microsoft Office 365 account. Are all options to get started, or just create your own username and password with Nearpod. Some resources, we also gave links to tutorials. There was a one best thing from an Apple Distinguished Educator talking about instant feedback using Nearpod, and is a really good example of how Nearpod can be used with fidelity in the classroom. A really good example there. 2 different modes. There's the live mode and the homework mode. We've really concentrated on the live mode. Like most apps, Nearpod has a lot of bells and whistles that you can only get if you are willing to pay. And I can't tell you off the top of my head, Val, do you remember how much it cost for Nearpod?
I think we actually, Valerie has been kicked off, so
Oh,
I
okay.
don't see her down here, so.
No, I'm sorry.
No, you're all right.
Yeah, so I think I want to say it's somewhere in the range of $100. I know Educreations is around 100 for a subscription for the year, and I think Nearpod's somewhere around there as well. So really, though, there's so many powerful things within the free version that I think that's well worth it, or it's fine to stay away from the paid version. And then at the end of our talking text session, really what we did is we went through and I gave several other resources to some links that we'd found at our conference that we recently went to, that just were lots of good apps and some presentations that we found really helpful. So, and if you wanted to click on this today's meet, you could find access to those links as well. So, and then as always, we always direct people to the resources that we post on our Weebly site as a good resource to find some of that stuff. So that's it in a, I don't know, what was that, about a 5-minute overview?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I will say, when I was, watching you kind of go through that, and you did your demo, the first thing that popped in my mind, and I kind of shared it with you during the session, was, just thinking of social studies in terms of the teaching, and as you're teaching something, you want the kids to have a map in front of you, in front of each of them, and have it up close versus having to look at the front of the room and they can't, the people in the back room can't see those little cities or whatever it may be. If everyone had it right in front of you, and literally 2 slides, one with a map and one with somebody's face that you're just studying or whatnot.
Absolutely.
And you sort of brought up the next level of that, and I hadn't really thought of it, but on Nearpod you can annotate on top of those.
Yeah, really, that's really powerful to be able to do that. And social studies, that's a great example. But yeah, really any subject area that you could think of. A little bit of prep work on the front end to set up the presentations, but it is extremely user-friendly. Just drag and drop basically different files to make it all work.
Yeah, and I kind of had one thing I wanted to share. I won't take much time, but I just kind of going off of what you said, and even a little bit back to Educreations, is I have found in the last month or so, the more I work on projects and whatnot, the more the kids are really dying to make sure whatever they're doing is seen by somebody. So they want to know, okay, who am I making this for? Who's going to see it? Where are you going to post this? And if I was to recommend anything to any teacher, is always maybe have that in the back of your mind of how are you going to share what they make. And of course, don't get me wrong, I don't share everything a student makes every time.
Sure.
But on a project that maybe takes, I don't know, a week to complete, having an end result for each student, they truly enjoy being able to share that with some. I had a couple, and then you may ask yourself, where would you share it? So I've heard people doing the blogging, sharing it on a blog somewhere.
Yep.
Some people have know about QR codes, being able to have maybe a link of a project, and I know that Educreations creates a link. So you could have a video link to that. Edmodo is a place to host those type of things. That's what I use pretty regularly. And then even if nothing else, even an email to 5 students in your class. These people are going to see it. Or if you have a distribution list with your whole class, shoot it out to them and say, okay, I've got an email. Somebody created their project and they want to share it. So
couple thoughts on that. I totally agree. Kind of the buzzword that you hear is like an authentic audience. It's not just the other kids in the class, but sharing it out worldwide. And you kind of hit on it, but obviously you want to be careful as we do that, not to attach student names to pictures, but to be sure to protect the student's identity. But the power of that is incredible, to be able to connect kids all over the world. And I know of a couple examples of teachers who have even set up like their own Twitter accounts and have used different hashtags and things like that to connect with real authors. If they've done a project that kind of centered around a book or something like that, to be able to then share that out with the author and even have gotten feedback from the author. And that's, extremely powerful for kids to see that these people who real life authors can respond to them and get feedback can be really a powerful thing.
And one final thing, since we're doing a Google Hangout right now,
Yeah.
I know that, and you mentioned the author. I had just kind of been to, it's some kind of, I think it must have been a YouTube video I found somewhere, but they were literally doing a Google Hangout with, I can't remember what book it was, but
Yeah.
maybe it was Wayside Stories, and I'm drawing a blank on who. I think it was Lewis Sacker or somebody, some famous author. But the kids got to just interview him, ahead of time,
Wow.
right on the Google Hangout, and I thought, wow, that's really a neat
Yeah.
thing. And then I think later the person who had posted that mentioned that they shared that with the school then later on, because
Yeah.
they could only do it centrally in a classroom for the setup that they had, but then
Mm-hmm.
being able to actually view that and realizing that that author had actually talked to people at their own school was kind of a neat thing. So
Yeah, that's really good. I think more and more of that will catch on kind of as hopefully at some point when Twitter would be available for everybody to use even at school. But that's something that a teacher on their own personal device. Obviously, we don't require teachers to have smartphones or anything, but more and more teachers do have their own device and are able to tweet something out or connect that way.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, Matt, do you have anything else you want to add?
I was actually today just out at Glenwood Park and was working with some first grade teachers, and one of the questions I always get, and I think I even mentioned it at the end of the Talking Tech, a lot of primary grade teachers, kindergarten, first grade, will ask about how other people are using the iPads, and just a couple things resources to point them to. One would be Matt B. Gomez, and that's MATTB, and Gomez is GOMEZ.com. His blog, his website has a lot of really practical stuff for kindergarten, first grade teachers to use, and he's kind of a technology guru, but does a great job of breaking it down and making it pretty simple. And really, the thing I love about his site is it really shows real life examples. It's things that he's using in his classroom, so it's not just me telling you, hey, this is great to use.
Yeah.
But I don't have a classroom of kids. Yeah.
And I'll jump in really quick on that as well. I saw it somewhere, and it maybe even been what it could have been from a talking text session. You had mentioned it, so I checked it out. Like you said, there's a ton of primary grades, but even then, some of it can easily be translated right over to the upper grades for those people who are looking for resources, for sure.
Yeah, and that's just what we want to try to again create, that culture of finding ideas like that. And teachers are incredible at being able to you as a fourth grade teacher see something that works in first grade and say, oh yeah, here's how I could kind of manipulate that or use that with my fourth graders. And especially for so many teachers that we have that are kind of new in their technology journey, they may want to do a project that would be deemed more simple because some of their fourth graders, it might be the first experience that they've had using iPads or technology. So that's a good point. It's a good place to start. And then one other thing that I showed them, and just to mention on the Weebly site, if you go to our FWCS Weebly site, on the elementary tech page, you'll see a link in the tutorials for a hundreds book video. It's an iMovie tutorial that I did. And the first grade team over at Glenwood was pretty excited about seeing iMovie and how simple it can be to put together and create pretty good projects. That's kind of a next level thing. They've been using EduCreations, but some of the stuff that they were trying to do with EduCreations was a little advanced for what EduCreations can do. So I kind of steered them towards iMovie, and they were really excited about it, and they're going to try that out with some of their first graders.
Good. That's great. And I will say, just to end on a final note, that definitely, as it's speaking as a teacher, I would say, do not be afraid to try it, because the kids are always going to be smarter than the teacher as far as figuring things out. They'll definitely help you along the way in case you're a little nervous about not knowing or not being completely confident on how to make something happen. Now, the content as a teacher, you're always going to pretty much have that nailed down on what you want them to see, but getting them to that, a lot of times they can figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Well, thank you, Derek.
Yeah, thank you. I think that kind of does it for our February edition. Until next time, we will see you later. Bye-bye.